Hi, welcome to TowerPod from St Mary's Marston Mortain in Lidington, a weekly gospel message with a thoughtful sermon. Enjoy.
I find it quite sad that this day, Mothering Sunday, is now called by most people Mother's Day. It has become a day full of sentimentality, cards and flowers, very far removed from its origins in the Middle Ages. Then the fourth day of Lent was a special day when the strict Lenten fasting was put aside just for one day. In those far-off days, parishes covered a very wide area and often had both a parish church and a daughter church, known as a chapel of ease. Every Sunday, parishioners had to worship at their local church or chapel. But halfway through Lent, on Mid-Lent Sunday, everyone was required to attend a service at their main parish church, their mother church. Groups would meet up and walk in procession from all the outlying villages and hamlets to their mother church, where they presented their Lent offerings and paid their tithes and their taxes. This meant that family members who worked away from home would return home for the day, and there would be great family reunions. By the 16th century, the processions had stopped, but many of the family gatherings were still held. Children who were in domestic service or apprenticeships and were living away from home were allowed to visit their parents on this one day of the year. They would set off early in the morning, and as they walked along lanes, they would pick bunches of violets and wildflowers. In some places, it was the custom to set out drinks and cakes in the church porch for refreshment of the apprentices and serving girls when they arrived after their journey, which may explain the alternative name for this day, which is Refreshment Sunday. And today, people are allowed to have that glass of wine that perhaps they haven't been having all through Lent so far. Sometimes the boys and girls would take small gifts for their mothers, and the whole family would attend the morning service and then break their Lenten fast to enjoy a meal of roast meats, lentils, and simnel cake. As more holidays were allowed, Mothering Sunday lost some of its importance, and by the beginning of the 20th century, it was not widely observed. In 1912, the daughter of a Nottinghamshire vicar started a movement to revive some of the religious customs connected with the fourth Sunday in Lent, and encouraged the local clergy to keep Mothering Sunday in their churches. Over the year, this observance has grown and in this country has become an accepted date in the church calendar. Well, sadly, like many Christian festivals, this one too has become commercialised and has become confused with Mother's Day, which is held on the second Sunday in May by the Americans and many countries in Europe. That celebration has no special significance. However, because of this confusion, no special religious significance. However, because of this confusion, Mothering Sunday now brings with it the real danger of being over sentimental about mothers. We need to be aware that some people can find this day very difficult and even hurtful. The women who have longed for a child but unable to have one. The parent who has lost contact with their child. the children who have been cruelly treated by their mother, the single father. These people need to be remembered today as well. But nevertheless, it is a good day to think about the relationship between parent and child. The passages of Scripture that have been set for today, which you'll find on the sheet, but we haven't had them read for obvious reasons, they are very long, they make no attempt to sugar or sentimentalise what mothering involves. In the passage from the first book of Samuel, we read of Hannah, the first wife of Elkanah, who unfortunately was unable to have any children. Now, this would have been really shaming for her and would have lost all her status in the community. Her husband, Elkanah, took a second wife, Peninnah, who was very fertile and bore him many children. Hannah, as you can imagine, longed for a child, and how hurtful this was for her to see her, I don't know what you call them really, the other wife, having lots of children. From today's reading, we hear that in thankfulness to God, when Hannah did get a child, Samuel, she was willing to give him up to Eli, the priest in the temple, in her thankfulness to God. Our short and so moving gospel passage, which was beautifully read this morning, places us at the foot of the cross. Here hangs Jesus, who, despite the terrible pain he must have been in, is stirred by the sight and plight of his grieving mother and tenderly commits her into the care of the disciple he loves. This is such a wonderful example of the way we are all called to care for and look after others. Taking up this theme of mutual caring, St. Paul, in his letter to the Colossians, exhorts the Christians there to clothe themselves with compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. Compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience. Sadly, traditionally, qualities like meekness, humility, and patience have usually been attributed more to mothering than to fathering. But surely they should be there in all parenting. And these qualities are what we should be striving for in all our relationships. And the caring that Paul talks of is a two-way process. As God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, we need to cultivate the art of giving and receiving mothering, and not just with our children, but in all our relationships. And we need to recognise that this will involve both times of great joy and of deep sorrow, as we rejoice with others and increasingly bear one another's burdens and suffering. It is no easy task to clothe ourselves in compassion, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, but those are the qualities that Jesus demands of us. One of the greatest gifts God gives us in this life is one another. Together we walk through the years, learning to listen and to scold, to encourage and to forgive, learning to give and accept, to protect and let go, learning the responsibility of helping those who are dependent on us and the humility of enforced and unwelcome dependence on others. And through all of it, God gives to us the companionship and the joy that we humans find in loving one another. There is a place for mothering in all our relationships, and with special emphasis on forgiveness and love, it is mothering of this sort that is rooted in God's parenting of us.
Thanks for listening to TowerPod. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like it, please subscribe and share with a friend. Have a good week and see you next time. God bless.